You keep waiting to feel ready, but that day never comes. Every single day, millions of people wake up with a quiet dream burning inside them. A business they want to start, a skill they want to master, a bold move they want to make, a change they desperately crave. But then they whisper the same lie they whispered yesterday. I'll start when I'm ready. And just like that, another day slips through their fingers. That lie has destroyed more dreams than failure ever has. Because failure at least moves you forward. But waiting? Waiting freezes you. Waiting makes you feel like you're being patient when really, you're standing still. You think you're protecting your future by waiting for the right moment. But in reality, you're watching your future fade away day by day. The idea of being ready sounds safe. It sounds responsible. It makes you feel like you're being smart, like you're preparing, like you're planning. But let's be honest, it's not preparation. It's procrastination wearing a nice outfit. It's fear hiding behind logic. You tell yourself, I'll do it when I have more money. I'll do it when I have more time. I'll do it when I'm more confident. I'll do it when the timing is right. But the right time doesn't exist. The perfect moment isn't coming. There's no magical day where everything aligns and the path becomes easy. Waiting for that day is like waiting for the sun to rise at midnight. It's never going to happen. And deep down, you know it. You know that your hesitation isn't about timing. It's about fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of uncertainty. You keep saying you're not ready, when the truth is you're scared. But here's the thing. You don't become ready and then start. You start, and then you become ready. Think about the first time you did anything important in your life. You weren't ready to take your first steps as a child. You weren't ready to learn how to speak. You weren't ready for your first job, your first heartbreak, your first challenge. But you did it anyway. And that's how you grew. Growth never happens before action. It happens because of action. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The version of you that's waiting to feel ready will never take action. Because readiness doesn't arrive. It's built through doing the hard thing. Confidence isn't something you find. It's something you earn. Courage isn't something you're given. It's something you practice. Every great person you admire started when they weren't ready. They were scared. They were uncertain. They didn't have everything figured out. But they moved anyway. When you keep waiting, you tell yourself a dangerous story. Once everything is perfect, I'll begin. But that story only leads to one ending: regret. Regret for the chances you didn't take. Regret for the doors you didn't walk through. Regret for the person you could have become but never did. Because time won't wait for you to feel ready. Here's the thing about time. It moves whether you act or not. The clock doesn't stop because you're scared. The world doesn't pause because you're uncertain. Every day you delay is a day you'll never get back. And those days add up. First it's 1 week, then a month, then a year, then 5. And suddenly, what was once possible feels unreachable. Not because it was too hard, but because you waited too long. Waiting is a thief. It steals potential. It steals energy. It steals dreams quietly. So quietly that most people don't even realize it's happening until it's too late. And here's what makes waiting so dangerous. It disguises itself as being wise. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right opportunity. You're waiting for things to calm down. You're waiting for a sign. But life doesn't reward waiting. It rewards movement. The idea of one day is a trap. One day I'll chase my dream. One day I'll get serious. One day I'll be fearless. But one day is a graveyard for lost potential. Because when tomorrow becomes your excuse for today, you'll never move. The truth is, no one ever feels ready to change their life. Not at the beginning. They just make a choice, a decision to act despite the fear, despite the doubt, despite the uncertainty. The people who rise aren't the ones who waited for courage. They're the ones who took the first step even when their hands were shaking. The idea of waiting for the right time is like standing at the edge of a pool, waiting for the water to feel warm from the outside. You can stand there for hours. You can test it with your toes. You can convince yourself you'll jump and once it's comfortable. But the only way to adjust is to get in. The only way to get used to the water is to dive. And that's exactly how life works. You don't build clarity by waiting for it. You build clarity by moving through the fog. You don't gain strength by waiting to be strong. You gain strength by facing the weight. The problem isn't that you're not ready. The problem is that you're expecting readiness to feel comfortable. But growth doesn't feel comfortable. It never has. The pain of starting is temporary, but the pain of waiting lasts forever. You can struggle for a few months as you take the leap, or you can regret it for years while standing still. The discomfort of growth fades. The bitterness of regret doesn't. What people forget is this: courage doesn't roar. Courage whispers, "Start now." You keep waiting for a big, dramatic moment where everything makes sense. But that moment isn't coming. The world won't hand you the perfect opportunity. The moment you're waiting for is the one you create by acting. The people who change their lives aren't more talented than you. They're not luckier. They're not more ready. They're just willing to act while scared. They move even when their mind tells them not to. They trust the process even when it doesn't make sense. They walk forward even when they can't see the whole path. And that's why they grow. Think about how many things in your life would be different if you had started the moment you said, "I'm not ready." Think about where you could be now if you had taken that step 1 year ago. The version of you from the past waited. Don't let the future version of you carry the weight of that regret. You can't win a race you refuse to start. You can't finish what you never began. You can't grow while staying still. And yet, that's what so many people do. They keep circling the same dream. They keep waiting for the perfect time. And then they wake up and realize time doesn't wait. There is no perfect time. There is only now. Now is where momentum is born. Now is where confidence is built. Now is where the fear starts to lose power. It's not the perfect plan that changes your life. It's imperfect action taken consistently. Start small. Start scared. Start messy. But start. Because clarity will come. Confidence will grow. Strength will follow. But none of it will happen while you're standing on the sidelines, waiting to feel ready. And yes, the beginning will be uncomfortable. Yes, it will feel like you don't know what you're doing. Yes, your mind will tell you to wait. But that's exactly how growth is supposed to feel. Every person who ever made something great felt the same way. The difference is, they started anyway. You keep waiting to feel ready. But readiness isn't coming. The perfect time doesn't exist. The comfort you're looking for is on the other side of action. So stop waiting. Stop circling. Stop lying to yourself. You don't need to be ready. You just need to begin. You don't need to be ready. You need to start. The reason most people stay stuck isn't because they don't have potential. It's because they keep waiting for a feeling that never shows up. They keep waiting to feel confident. They keep waiting to feel strong. They keep waiting for the fear to disappear. But courage doesn't come before action. Courage shows up when you move. Strength doesn't show up when you wait. Strength is built in the doing. You have to understand something powerful. No one ever feels ready to build something great. Not the athlete, not the leader, not the dreamer who made history. Every single one of them started while feeling uncertain. Every single one of them took steps in the dark. They weren't fearless. They moved with fear still in their chest. And that's the difference between people who talk about changing their lives and the ones who actually do. You've spent too much time convincing yourself you need to have it all figured out first. But the truth is, you don't. You just need to start with what you have, where you are, with the little strength you've got right now. Starting small doesn't mean starting weak. It means you're finally done waiting for permission to act. Every step you take builds momentum, and momentum is stronger than motivation. Motivation comes and goes, but momentum carries you forward even on the days you don't feel like showing up. You'll never wake up one day and suddenly feel ready, but you will wake up one day and realize that the small steps you took yesterday made you stronger today. That's how change actually happens, one small, brave step at a time. The people who win are not the smartest. They're not the richest. They're not the most talented. They're the ones who decided to move. They stopped analyzing every detail. They stopped waiting for everything to be perfect. They stopped overthinking. They started, even when they were scared, even when they doubted themselves, even when it didn't make sense. And that's how they built something they once thought was impossible. Every dream you have is waiting on one thing: your action. Your dream isn't asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be brave enough to begin. Because the future doesn't belong to the most prepared. It belongs to the most persistent. You can keep asking, what if it doesn't work? But here's a better question. What if it does? What if this step leads to something bigger than you can imagine? What if the thing you fear is actually the door you need to walk through? What if everything you've been praying for is on the other side of the action you keep postponing? The only way to find out is to start. The power of starting is simple. You silence fear with movement. You silence doubt with momentum. You silence hesitation with action. You can't think your way into confidence. You act your way into it. You can't pray your way into courage without moving your feet. You can't build anything worth having if you keep standing at the edge. At some point, you have to jump. It won't feel easy, but it will feel real. And that's what matters. Your first steps may not be pretty. You'll stumble. You'll make mistakes. You'll doubt yourself. But those steps matter more than perfect plans ever will. Because progress, no matter how small, beats perfection every time. The first time you show up, it'll be messy. The second time, still shaky. But by the 100th time, it'll be powerful. And the only way to get to the 100th time is to start at the first. Stop asking the world to give you a perfect moment. You create the moment. You create the opportunity. You create the momentum. The world doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards action. You don't have to be fearless to start. You just have to be tired of staying stuck. Because when the pain of staying the same becomes heavier than the fear of moving forward, that's when everything shifts. And that shift begins the second you take that first step. Action doesn't eliminate fear, it disarms it. Action doesn't erase doubt, it proves it wrong. Action doesn't make the path easy, it makes you stronger. The moment you act, you take your power back. You stop being controlled by hesitation. You stop waiting for life to give you a green light. You become the green light. Think about it. Every person who ever built something great had a moment when no one believed in them. A moment when they felt weak. A moment when they wanted to give up. But they took another step. Not because they had it all together, but because they refused to let fear be the author of their story. Every hero started as a beginner. Every expert started as a student. Every success story started with a shaky first step. So don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. Don't talk yourself out of a dream just because you don't feel ready. Ready is a lie. Let this sink in. The more you delay, the harder it becomes to move. The longer you wait, the louder the fear grows. The more you hesitate, the heavier your dream feels. But the moment you act, even in the smallest way, the weight begins to lift. You start breathing again. You start seeing a path where there was only fog. You start becoming the person your dream needs you to be. This is why the first step is everything. You won't have all the answers. You won't feel confident. You won't feel ready. But your first step is a declaration. I refuse to let fear dictate my story. And that declaration changes everything. One day, you'll look back at this moment. You'll remember how scared you felt, how uncertain everything seemed, how loud your excuses were. But you'll also remember the step you took anyway, the decision that changed your direction, the moment you stopped waiting and started moving. And you'll realize that was the turning point. This isn't about hype. This is about truth. You're not stuck because your dream is impossible. You're stuck because you keep waiting for a feeling that doesn't exist. There's no perfect time. There's only now. And what you do with now decides everything. Start where you are. Start with what you have. Start scared. Start unsure. But start. You'll never regret starting. You'll only regret waiting too long. You don't need to be ready. You need to start. Because waiting won't change anything. Action will. Start small. Start scared. Start imperfect. Because the second you stop waiting and move, your story changes. If this message is speaking to you, don't forget to subscribe to The Balanced Beat for more life-changing wisdom and powerful motivation. Hit that like button to support the channel and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. We're building something meaningful here, and your support means everything.